Hello and welcome to the interview here on France 24. Our guest today is Jane Hartley. She is the U.S. ambassador to France. Thank you very much for coming. Donald Trump will be sitting in the Oval Office on January the 20th. In a stunning upset, the Republican candidate won the election against favorite Hillary Clinton, and he will become America's 45th president. It was a clear and decisive win. And he will also have a Republican Congress behind him in Washington. In his first declarations, he said, "I will be the president of all Americans." Can that happen after such a divisive and brutal campaign?
Yes, I think so, or at least I hope so. I watched his speech, and as you said, I thought he was very gracious.
Were you surprised?
I was not surprised. I've lived through 5 presidential elections. I've been on the winning side for the majority, but not always. And I think in our system, when a person becomes president, I mean, we saw the toughest election ever between Al Gore and George Bush, which was a much closer election than this, where there was a split between the electoral and the popular vote. But the country came together. And that's our system of democracy. And I think Trump's speech was reaching out. I certainly hope he does that. I was interested, we were talking about it before, that when he talked about programs, one of the programs he talked about was infrastructure spending. That has been a Democratic program. It's something the Democratic White House has wanted. So it'll be interesting.
So basically you're saying, okay, in America, once you become president, you forget about all the declarations, all the controversies about women, about minorities, about his opponent that he wanted to throw in jail. I mean, do you think this is all forgotten today and that a new Donald Trump was born this morning?
No, I didn't say that he forgets or everybody forgets. My hope. And I think it was a step forward this morning. My hope is that he decides that he wants to be president for all people, that he does what many presidents before him have done. I mean, even Ronald Reagan, when he was president, made the most important domestic policy piece of legislation, passed the most important domestic policy piece of legislation, Social Security Act, working with the Speaker of the House, who was a famous Democratic speaker, Tip O'Neill. That can happen in our country, and that's what I'm hopeful for. Hopeful, though.
Donald Trump is obviously a maverick, a real estate millionaire. Mm-hmm. He's also the first one taking office without having held any official position in government or in the military. I mean, this is really a new era, a historical win in many ways.
Yes, we've never seen that before, at least like Dwight Eisenhower had been in the military before. This is the first time anybody has not served either in the military or in government. And I think it speaks to what the people wanted. I mean, people were looking for change. And I guess as I look back on this election, that's one of the things that I even personally should have thought about more, because when I woke up this morning, I was a bit surprised. Although right from the beginning of this campaign, if you polled on what would people want, experience versus change, always change was a 2-to-1 majority. And that was something we probably should have focused on.
The establishment.
The establishment, I guess, should have focused on a little bit more. Thank you.
The polls were proven wrong again. And I mean, Donald Trump campaigned saying this is a rigged election, and he ends up winning it. I mean, what does this say?
Yeah, listen, I totally objected to a statement about a rigged election, because the strength of our democracy is that it is not rigged. And as we have seen today, once again, our democracy is about people, not political leaders, not the elite, but people voting and electing a president. And what we saw today was that happen. And it reminds me a bit of the 1980 election.
Ronald Reagan, obviously also an outsider, movie star.
Exactly.
But the difference was that he was previously governor and a big state of California. I mean, that's a big difference.
He was governor, but he did, in terms of if you look at the coalition that elected Reagan in 1980, it's not that similar, not that dissimilar if you look at the map today. Reagan was extremely strong in the Midwest, what we would call the Rust Belt, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, attracting a large blue-collar white vote. I haven't looked at the demographics yet today, but my guess is you're going to see a similar thing from the election last night.
What some people are calling the angry white man vote.
Perhaps. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps. So it was a vote against Hillary Clinton, obviously, but also against Barack Obama.
I think, listen, we can debate that, and I haven't seen the demographics. I think it was a vote for change. I'm going to take the slightly more positive side of that, and once again, I haven't seen all the demographics. One thing we should remember is that since the Roosevelt-Truman era, the same party has only been elected 3 times once, and that was Reagan, George Bush the father. In general, the American people like a party to stay in charge for 2 terms. That's just who we are.
Yes, but clearly this marks the end for Hillary Clinton's political life. I mean, she can not possibly pretend to be president again after losing against Barack Obama and losing as the favorite to Donald Trump.
Listen, I don't want to get into the prediction game here. I mean, I am sure what you're saying is what many people would say. Having said that, in America, everybody can come back. Right.
Everybody can come back. What might be a problem, and that this is an issue that's been in the campaign because of several tragic incidents, is the race issue. I mean, was this, in a way, a racial vote against Barack Obama that could reopen some old wounds, or not so old, actually, in America?
I hope not. Once again, I haven't.
But you fear that might be?
No, I don't feel that. I mean, I think more than anything else, this was a vote for change. I mean, Hillary Clinton is an incredible public servant. But she has been in the public eye since 1992. Right.
People didn't want the Clintons anymore.
That's a very long time. So I think in the end, once again, back to that experience change ratio, people wanted change.
Right. Even though exit polls say a majority of people think Donald Trump is not qualified for office. I mean, this is stunning when you think of it. Yes, you want change, but you vote for someone you think is not qualified to be handling nuclear issues and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, I too think it's quite surprising. I've not seen exit polls like that before.
Right.
But it just goes back, I think, to people saying, what I'm seeing, I don't want more of the same in terms of government.
Right. Since he was elected, Donald Trump was congratulated by Vladimir Putin, Geert Wilders, the leader of the far-right party in the Netherlands, here in France by Marine Le Pen, Viktor Orban, the populist prime minister, and I'll just quote you what the vice-chancellor of Germany, Sigmar Gabriel, said. He said he's a pioneer of a new authoritarian and chauvinistic international movement.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
Let's hope not.
But you fear that might,
Let's hope not.
There was the Brexit vote, there were a few other instances, and this is clearly a development that will trigger international worries and also help populist parties across Europe.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think we know enough about what Donald Trump's policies will be yet.
We know about his sympathies for Vladimir Putin, for instance.
Yeah, but we don't know what his foreign policy is going to be. Nobody knows that. We don't know who his Secretary of State is going to be. And one thing I think that is important to keep in mind, the U.S. does have a system of checks and balances.
But the Republicans are going to control the
the
Congress.
Republicans are
They're
going
going
to
to probably
control.
get control of the Supreme Court as well, because there's a vacant seat and Donald Trump will be the one making the appointment. So the
there are
checks
many
and
issues-
balances are not there anymore.
Well, but there are many issues that actually Trump and the Republican Congress don't agree on. So it will be interesting. I mean, that's why I brought up infrastructure spending. You know, that's a Democratic program. That was the first thing he mentioned this morning. That normally is something the Republicans would not support. The Republicans in the Congress are more pro-trade, much more pro-trade than the Democrats. So there are going to be issues. And you know what? Just like any other president and the Congress, they're going to have to sit down and figure it out. And I don't know where it's going. You know, it's only the morning after, and I haven't had much sleep.
Right, I imagine. But as a last question, is it a blow to America's image abroad?
I hope not. I love my country. I am proud of my country. You know, I had an email from my daughter last night who was very disappointed. She was very much hoping that we would see the first woman president. But as a mother, I said to her, I've been through 5 presidential elections, and, you know, America's strong. Our democracy is strong. And usually we find a way. I was encouraged by his speech this morning. We find a way to work together again. So I'm hopeful, but it's only the morning after, and fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Okay. Thank you, Ambassador Hartley, for coming on the France 24 set, and thank you for watching this interview. Stay tuned for more news.